Yep. Good morning, everyone. So yesterday we learned about various methods of using styles, how to deal with styles. So last session, what we discussed is about what are the various techniques to define styles for HTML page. Styles for HTML page. What are the different techniques we have? Inline, we have embedded, and we have external style sheet. Difference we already discussed. Inline styles are faster, but cannot be reused. Embedded styles we can reuse, but only in page, not across pages. Across pages, then we have to go with external style sheet. In embedded, so many points we learned. How to define styles for print and for media, screen. How to define MIME type, where to define in head or body. These are important. And external style sheet, some points are there. Already we discussed external style sheet. External style sheets, we have to maintain a separate style sheet and we can link to any page. While working with external style sheets, one important concept you have to know is what is minification. This is very important. While working with external style sheets, this concept is very important. Minification is nothing but actually minification. It is a technique used to reduce the file size. It is a technique used to reduce the file size. So generally, when you are dealing with external style sheets, then we have to know this mandatory. Minification is compulsory. It is a technique used to reduce the file size. Actually, whenever we have to reduce file size, then we will think about zip by using compressing softwares like WinZip, WinRAR. We can reduce the file size, but you cannot zip CSS, JavaScript like files, and you cannot use the zipped files. Then without zip, how to reduce the file size? Without zip, how we can reduce the file size? Actually, minification is nothing but it is a coding technique used by developers to write less and do more. So it is a coding technique. Minification is a coding technique. By using this coding technique, developers can write less and do more. This technique is important. And by using this technique, we can reduce the file size. Actually, one simple point I will show you here. Suppose we are writing some programs. Generally, we are writing some logic like this. We have a if and condition. And on this condition true, what should happen? And else on this condition false, what should happen? Like this, generally our programming logics will be. Then what developers do is, here approximately 8 lines, 9 lines I have to write. The same logic developers can write in a shorter way. Same work it will do, but in a shorter way. What we can do is, we can simply define like this. We can write condition and a question mark on true and colon on false. It will do the same thing. Whatever is there left, the right side logic also will do the same. Now, actually, this type of code is called minified. This is minified. That means 8 lines, 9 lines code. Now reduce it to 1 line. It's not like everything 1 line. As much as possible, we can reduce. So this will reduce the file size, because already we discussed that in web development, size of file matters. We cannot upload or use files with heavy size. We need to control that. So minification is mandatory, compulsory. Actually, if you remembered, I think I explained that in real-time projects, generally in real-time projects, entire software development, usually entire software development happens in 4 servers. While discussing about servers, I think I explained this to you. Entire software development in real-time projects happens on 4 servers. We will have sandbox server. Sandbox server, we also call it as golden server. We will have a development server. We will have a quality server. And we have a production server. We have production. So, sandbox server means this is the location where all the library is present. We call it as repository server. Whatever library is required for building application, that library is present in a sandbox server. As a developer, you will be working on development server. That means you are given access to development server. Generally, what developers will do is, they build an app on this development server. On development server, we have to build an application. That means application is built on development server. After building application on development server, what we do is, we move this application to the quality server. Quality server is the location where we test the application. Whether it is working fine or not, we test it. Our testing team will test the project on quality server. If there are any problems, they will send back to development. So we build application on development server. After that, we move application to quality. If quality is passed, everything is fine, then we will move this to production. Production server is the server which is given to clients. It is the server which is given to clients. That means clients will be accessing the application from the production server. And very important, when application is moving from one server to another server, lot of settings will change. Application will not be in the same way. Sometimes the files that we use also changes. Actually, when you are designing application on development server, here we will use the original file.css. We will use the original file.css here. When we are using on production server, because it is going live, we have to reduce the size of the file. Then we use minified files. We will have a file.min.css. This is called minified. This is minified. What is point is, both files will have same work, but CSS file is having the normal uncompressed logic, and production file will have minified file which is compressed logic. Compressed means size reduced. Now, why size reduced? Because here just we have to run that file. Now the question is, why developers cannot directly use this file? They cannot directly use this file in project designing. Why they have to use two files? That means in any library, if it is CSS or JavaScript, a developer is provided with two files. You have used Bootstrap CSS file, Bootstrap min.css file, both will be there. Actually, observe in the project that we worked with. The project that we worked with, you can see so yeah, the project we worked with, in this project we installed already Bootstrap. Go to node modules. In the node modules, you see there is Bootstrap. In Bootstrap dist, in dist CSS. In that CSS, you will find two files are there. Bootstrap CSS is there, Bootstrap min CSS is there. Any library will provide both files, the original file and the minified file. Why they will provide both files? Because we will use this in development and we will use this in production. Production means when you are going live. All these days, we never used that min file. Directly we were linking bootstrap.css. Why we haven't done that? Because, see, the point is, in development, we cannot use minified. We can use, but we will not recommend to use. If you use minified files in development, if any problem comes, if any error comes, it will show the error saying that there is error, but it cannot track the error location correctly. That means it cannot tell in which line correctly error is present, because it is a compressed file. In compressed file, we can know errors, but we cannot know the location of error. Then it is not good for development, because developers need to know error and its correct location so that they can go there and fix it. Compressed files, they will never show the error location. That is the reason, as a developer, you have to use the minified file in production and you have to use the original file in development. Now the question is, how to create this minified file? That means, for example, suppose this is our CSS file yesterday we created. This is the CSS file yesterday we created. Now tell me, this is in 5 lines. Huh? This is in 5 lines. Now tell me how you can make it short. What are the possibilities of making it short? I can write like this now. H1. I will not use a line break. Here I will use a curly brace. And here we will define the background color. So we are using background color. And background color is green. The background color is green. Green, whatever possible shortcut. I can use hash. I can use RGB, right? So that means I can use 0F0. This is short. That means green word is 1 character lengthy. Now you can make it short. After that, we have color white. I can put hash FFF. Right. After that, we have to use text align. Text align, what it is? Center. That is how we have to write. We can define. That means little better. But asking your developer to write like this is very complex. Right? Asking your developers to write like this is very complicated. Why? Because here 3-5 lines are there. Generally in real world, thousands of lines will be there. Thousands of lines I have to write in this shortcut manner. That is very difficult. That is the reason what we do is, this is the actual code. This is uncompressed. This is uncompressed. This is uncompressed code. And this is called as minified. Minified is nothing but it is compressed. This is compressed code. Asking your developer to write all CSS like this is very difficult. It's impossible also because thousands of lines will be there. So what we can do is, so you can use predefined software tools for minification. We can use predefined software tools for minification. Ready-made software tools will be available. We can use them for minification. We don't need to write like that. We have to minify and use them. How online so many are present? You can download some softwares and try them. Online, you can see so many are there. Now, which one we have to minify? Which file we have to minify? CSS na? Then you can just Google as CSS minifier. You said just Google as CSS minifier. You will get online so many CSS minifier softwares are there. You can see there is a minify CSS online. You can open that. This is CSS minifier. And here what it is doing, it is asking that enter your CSS. We will copy our CSS code here. We will copy that CSS code and put it here. After that, we click on minify. It will compress that code and give it to you. It will compress the code and give it to you. Then we will copy that compressed code. Then we will go to our project. In the project, we will add one more file. What is it? Headings.min.css. Don't think that min is an extension. Min is just to tell developers that it is minified. It is also CSS file only. So just minified and paste that code. This is better. You can examine the size now. You see, open in File Explorer. You see 2 files are present. Headings.css, right click and see the properties. In the properties, you can see the size 79 bytes it is. And you go to headings min and go to the properties. In the properties, you can see 55 bytes. So approximately some 20-30% of size is reduced. This is very important. 100 to 100%, you should never use the original CSS in final production. Never. You should use only minified. 100 to 100%, you should never use minified files in development. Always you have to use only the original uncompressed files. This I have done by using online software. There will be so many softwares you can download offline. Later I will tell you some tools we can install and we can run command. They will automatically generate minified file. That means they will take your original file, they will create a min file and give it to you. You have to just use the minified file. That means in our pages, you see now, we will go to our page. In the page, here we are earlier linking the original file, but this time what we do, we use headings.min.css. Now you can see this is also having the same functionality. Functionality is same, but size will be reduced, performance will be improved. So every CSS and JavaScript requires a concept called minification. So how to do that? One simple point I showed you here. So example, first step, what you have to do is create a new CSS file. We will give the file name headings.css. With whatever code you want, you can keep it here. So the code is this one, the original code, right? I will copy this original code. We will keep it here. Okay. Next, second point, we have to open any CSS minifier tool. You can use online or offline. Actually, in online, you have a website, cssminifier.org. You can try this. What you have to do, copy your CSS code. Then you have to click minify. So it will provide minified code. Then copy the minified code. After copying the minified code, go to project and add a new file. The file name will be headings.min.css. And here you have to paste minified code, right? After that, link the minified file to web page. That's what you have to do. So link relation is equal to style sheet and href. It is in where //styles.headings.min.css. Right. That is the process we have to follow. So every web development, we need these minified files, compulsory, mandatory. That is one concept. Actually, here some questions are asked in regular interviews, like can we make changes in minified file? Can we make changes in minified file? If I want to make any change in CSS, can we make changes in minified file? Yes, we can make changes in minified file. but it is not great idea. Why? Because if you are changing minified file, automatically it will disturb the minified logic. If you are changing minified file, you better follow all minified techniques. If you don't, then it is disturbed. So you can make changes directly in minified file, but not recommended. So what you have to do, every time do the changes in the original file. After that, minify it again, then use it. Every time you have to follow this, right? Another question which we already discussed, when to use uncompressed and minified files. When to use uncompressed and minified files. When to use uncompressed and minified files. So uncompressed files are used in development, and minified files are used in production. So what is production? Production is the environment from where our application goes live. So if anyone asks what is production environment. Production is an environment actually. Production environment, it is the environment from where your application go live. Actually, we call this phase as go live phase. In software development, go live phase means application is ready to publish. It is published. So our clients will start using it. That is what actually go live. So this is the concept of minification. So whenever you are using CSS, while working with CSS, it's mandatory to know about minification. The same concept will come in JavaScript also. You will learn in JavaScript. JavaScript files also minified. So you saw the size difference, how it happened. You saw the size difference. Another important, while working with external files, you saw what is minification. Another question is asked here. Another question is there. That means another question comes here is, what is bundling? What is bundling? That is also very important. Remember, these all, if you can't answer 100%, you can't crack interviews, because in interviews, these kind of questions are asked. Nobody will ask how to put green color background in interviews. Nobody will ask how to set border, right? Those are not interview questions. They will ask that to practically show. The questions in interview will be all architecture based, and a developer is not a developer if he don't know the architecture. If you say that I know CSS but I don't know minified files, then you are not a developer, right? That is the reason these technical terms are very, very important. So because these are real world requirements every time. What is bundling? Bundling is nothing but, can I use multiple CSS files for a page? Can we use multiple CSS files for a page? Yes, we already used. In our previous example, we used Bootstrap. We used Bootstrap icons. Am I right? We used both Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons, both of them. And we discussed that using multiple CSS files will increase the number of requests and will increase the load time. Bundling is nothing but it is a technique where so you can it is a technique where CSS allows to bundle all files code into one file. That is what bundling is. That means you have 100 files. All files code you can merge and put in one file. But you don't need to manually merge them. You have to just bundle them. It will take care about all the merging part. Actually, this you will learn later. Just concept you need to know. Because to learn bundling, you have to learn a concept called SAS, less. These topics you have to learn. Actually, bundling is technique. By using this technique, multiple files you can bundle into one file. Then in your page, how many files you will be using? Only one file. If for experienced people, they may ask this in depth, like, so the question is, how to bundle. So name any tool used for bundling. So answer, the world's popular tool used for bundling in all software technologies. Every technology in the world have to use a software called Webpack. Any technology, Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Angular, React, everybody in the world who is using CSS, JavaScript, they have to use this tool, Webpack. It is mandatory. So this is very popular for bundling. This is what we use for bundling. We have that software website, Webpack. Yeah, this is Webpack. And you see, it says bundle your assets, bundle your scripts. So bundle your styles, images, everything. You can even bundle all of them, even images and all. This is very important. In this, there is an option, bundle styles. This is the software that you have to keep in your project. So by using that, you have to manage. This you are going to learn at the end of your course. Because for that you need to know all of them. What is SAS, what is less, what is all these things. Finally, when we are creating a project and we are learning how to publish online, there you will understand this concept. What is Webpack and how it is used. So this is very important, bundler. We call this as bundling. But how to do bundling, we can't try now. Later we will do that. Minification, you can try, right? Another important question, which you already know. While remember, these are all the points while working with external files. While working with external files, minification will come. Embedded minification will not be there. Inline minification will not be there. We have to write in shortcut ways only. There is no tool used for that. So minification, bundling, all these when you are using an external file. And important, another is, you know this actually, what is CDN? Last session already I told you, na? CDN. We learned online publishing, na? When we learned online publishing, I told you that we don't download the files and use them. We will directly use from their server. So CDN is content distribution network, content distribution network. It is content distribution network. That means, so it is the process of accessing CSS files, CSS. Currently, I'm talking about only CSS, JavaScript, anything. CSS files from online server. Instead of downloading, we can directly access from online server. What is good? It will save your space because you don't need to download. What is bad? It have to come from the server every time. If server is not responding, it will take time. If server is not responding, these styles will not work. Right? That means always you need to connect with internet. Then only you can handle it. That is important. These are all the concepts of external files. While working with external files, you have to know all these things, right? So styles can be defined in 3 ways. Already I showed you CDN in last session. Bootstrap CDN and icons CDN, we used them, right? Now, next, this is one complete concept. Now you are clear with one point, that how styles are kept in a page. Now the next point is how styles will take control of HTML. That means the question here is how styles are applied to any element. How styles are applied to any element. This is very important concept now. How styles are applied to any element. How the styles are applied to any element. The first point is, if you are writing styles, if you are writing styles inline, then you just need attribute and value. If you are writing styles inline, you just need attribute and value. That means what we do, suppose for heading, I want to apply color. Then what we have to write, style is equal to attribute. Attribute is color and value is value, whatever value is. This is inline. There is no problem. Now, for which element this color will be applied? For H2. For H2 element, this color will be applied. If you are writing styles embedded or external file, or in external file, then you need a selector. This is important. If you are writing the styles embedded in or external file, then attribute and value not enough. You need a selector. That means generally what we are doing, we are writing style. In style, I am writing some color is equal to red. To which element this will apply? To which element this should apply? That we haven't decided. That is decided by selector. That is decided by selector. This is called selector. We don't need a selector. Means many times people generally tell you that in CSS, selectors are very important. Without that, CSS cannot be written. That's all rubbish. Why? Because I don't need a selector if I am writing inline. Right? Selector is required only when you are writing embedded, or when you are writing in a separate style sheet. You need a selector because you are writing some attributes. You have to tell to which element these attributes should apply, where to apply. That means what is the role of selector now? Selector defines defines where to apply the given set of effects. Understood? Selector defines where to apply the given set of effects. And actually, CSS selectors are classified into various groups. CSS selectors are categorized into so many groups, hundreds of selectors are there. So there are so many selectors, very important, regularly used selectors we will see now. So selectors are classified into several types. Actually, the first important, you should know, selectors will have a lot of categories. First thing you have to know, primary selectors. There are so many groups are there. We have primary selectors. We have rational selectors. We have pseudo selectors. So we have the attribute selectors. So many categories are there. We will see different, all the options. One by one, we will learn about them. But first, as a developer, you have to first know about primary selector. I will tell you one by one first. You have to know about first primary selectors. In primary selectors, we have a type selector. We have an ID selector. We have a class selector. So the primary selectors, we have these three: the type, the ID, and the class. So primary selectors are these: type selector, ID selector, and the class selector. What is difference between them? We will see that. What is a type selector, ID selector, class selector? So see now here. Suppose we are defining styles. I will remove this link. Okay, and I am writing a style. And in this, first I am defining here some set of effects. In a block, I am writing some effects. What are those? Suppose background color. Background color, I say red. Color, I said white. So text align, I said center. Like this I define. Now the question here is where to apply these effects. We need to give a selector. And what is type selector? Type selector is nothing but it defines the node name. It defines the node name. Node name means, it is the element name. It defines the element name. That means to which element you want to apply, it defines the element name. It defines the node name. Node name means element name. That means suppose you want to apply for paragraph. That means it will be like P. You want to apply for div, it will be div. You want to apply for heading 2, table cell TD, order list OL, list item LI, like this. This is called as type selector. Type selector means you are defining directly the element name. All these days you are doing that. Header, footer, section, main. Directly you are giving the name. You are directly defining the name. That is actually type selector. What is good? What is bad? Type selector means, you see now, I am giving here heading 1. That means wherever heading 1 comes, in that it is going to apply this. These effects are applied to which one? Heading 1. Heading 1. Now I will save this. You can see for every heading it is applied. This is good, but I don't want for second heading. You can't ignore. There is no chance. That means I don't want second heading to use. Then there is no chance. No chance. You can't do anything. That means what is good about type selector? That means it defines the node name. That means what happens is it applies effect. It applies effect. Where it will apply? It will apply effect to every occurrence of element. It applies effect to every occurrence of element. Wherever that occurs, it will apply. That means here you cannot ignore any specific occurrence. You cannot ignore any specific occurrence. At certain location, I don't want that effect. You can't ignore. So it will apply everywhere. That means wherever heading 1 comes, it will apply that effect. That means, for example, I am writing here heading 1 and I am saying that web technologies. This I want in a different way. If that I want in a different way, but there is no chance, that also applies same. So type selector is going to apply your effects in every occurrence. In every occurrence. There is no chance of selecting. That means you cannot choose where you want. Wherever that element occurs, it will apply that effect. There is no chance of ignoring that. That is the problem with type selector. So syntactically, already we know just syntactically how to define syntax. We have to just write heading 2 and what effects you want to apply. That means you can write like this. Heading, paragraph, whatever element is there, you have to just define the element name. That is type selector. Then how do we overcome this problem? We can have ID selector. We can have ID selector. ID selector is nothing but it defines a reference ID. Reference ID. It defines a reference ID for CSS effects. Reference ID for CSS effects. So, and very important, ID is configured by using hash. ID is configured by using hash. And how it is accessed? ID is accessed by using ID attribute. It is configured with hash and it is accessed by using ID. What is good about this? You can apply the effects. You can apply the effects to selected element. You can apply effects to selected element. Which element you want, you can apply. It will not apply everywhere. It will apply only to selected. But you have a drawback here. So here, this is fine. But what is the problem? What is issue is every element can have only one ID. That is problem. Every element can have only one ID. What is problem then? The problem is nothing but if CSS effects are multiple categories, you can't apply them. That means multiple categories, multiple set of CSS effects cannot be applied. Multiple sets of CSS effects cannot be applied. cannot be applied to home to single element. Understood? Cannot be applied to single element. What does that means? I will show you. I will show you that multiple sets of CSS effects cannot be applied. So let's see here. See now. What I am doing is here I am removing this and put an hash. Hash any reference name. Reference name I will give as heading. Okay. Now I want to apply this to any heading. Not only heading, paragraph, anywhere you want, you can give. I want to apply to CSS. Then for CSS, you have to use ID. ID is what? Heading. Then automatically it will apply for CS. Heading, right? Spelling wrong, huh? Yeah. We will apply only for that heading. For any paragraph, any element, you can choose for which one you want. It's not that this is applied only for heading. For any div, for any another element, you can apply. But what is drawback? Let's see. Generally, when we write effects, we don't write like this. We generally write effects with very good, clean classification. Because for some elements, I want, see, how do we write? See, I am writing one. This is text effects, text effect. I am writing text effect, ID. This text effect contains only text related effects. Text related effect means I will give text align as center. I will give text color. That means text color as some red. Effects separate. Similarly, we have another. So back effect. That means background effects we will separate. That means here we will put background color some yellow. Now we have another ID. Now we have another ID, border effect. Border effect. Here we will put border as 2 pixel solid and some red color. Now the point here is, here for text effect we will put one more like padding as 20 pixel like this. Why we return so many IDs? Because for some paragraphs I want only border. I don't want background. I don't want foreground. I want only border. Then what we will do, we can apply border effect. Some paragraphs I want only background. I don't want text colors effects and all these things. That is the reason if I write all at one place, I have to apply all of them to everyone. If I separate them, then we can apply these effects according to requirement. This is the good way of writing the effects. Now, but we have problem now. How to apply all these 3 effects to one element? For example, now I am going to first heading. I will keep an ID. I am writing as text effect. I am using text effect ID. You can see it applies. I want to apply background effect also, or I want to apply border effect also. Border effect also, then how to write? You cannot have another ID. You cannot have another ID. Every element can have only one ID. I cannot write here, suppose border effect. I am writing another ID, border effect, and you can see it's not working. I cannot write here ID, first one, comma, another one is border effect. That means 2 IDs we are applying. Not possible. I am using some space and writing. Not possible. So if effects are present in multiple categories, effects are present in multiple categories, you cannot apply them. That means every element can have only one set of effects. That is the problem with ID selector. So ID selector, every element can have only one ID. That means multiple sets of CSS effects cannot be applied to single element. This is the drawback of ID selector. So syntax, how do we write? IDs are defined by using hash, some headings, and we write some effects. And how to apply? We have some heading. ID is equal to what? Headings. Anywhere you can apply. Suppose there is a paragraph, ID is equal to headings. A div, a paragraph, anywhere we can apply that. That is the advantage and drawback of headings. Another important, to overcome this, you can use a class selector, which we are already doing it. Class selector, that means it defines a class name. It defines a class name for set of effects. It defines a class name for set of effects. And how do we define class selector? Already we know class is configured by using dot, right? And class is applied by using which attribute? Class attribute. What is the speciality of that? One element can use multiple classes. One element can use multiple classes. It cannot use multiple IDs, but one element can use multiple classes. Already you are using, but you don't know. You see BI, after BI, you are giving a space. BI, some heart. BI is one class, BI heart is another class. You are applying two classes. That is not one class. If you are using a class separated with space, that means it is multiple classes. BI is one class, BI home, BI heart, BI search, this is another class. That means you are applying actually two classes every time, right? One is bootstrap icon, that is the base class. Another one is which icon, that is the icon class. So what is advantage of class selector? See now, I will change this. You cannot use multiple IDs. I will change this to class selectors. That means I will put this into dot. Class selector is defined by using dot. Now, how to access the classes? I am just accessing the class. First class is text effect. You can see the text effect is applied for it. I will apply another class. Just space. Multiple classes need to be defined with space. Order node dependency. You can put any one first, second. What is the next effect you want? Border effect. You can see that is also applied. That means multiple effects are applied to one element. Because for every heading, I don't want border, but some of headings I want border. Then which class you want, you can ignore. Suppose I want background color also, then space, what is it? Background effect. That means it will apply background. What is it? Back effect. Yeah. We have to use back effect, and you can see it is also applied. Now for JavaScript, I want only text and background. That means we will put class is equal to back effect and text effect. Only these two will be there. Only those two. For CSS, I want only border. Then I will put a class here as border effect. Only border will be there. Right. For HTML, I am applying the class as border effect and text effect. text effect. So I don't want anything else. It can apply. Not only 2, 3, 4, 10, any number of you can apply. That is the advantage of class. All these days you used them without knowing all this, right? Detailedly. So, but now you have a clarity when to use ID, when to use class, and when to use type. Which one is best? Again. So you will not change. You will be in the same mindset. Huh? If one is best, why others are there? So you decided that you will never change. Huh? If one is best, why all others are there? Right? That means all are required according to situation, right? That means if I want to apply every occurrence same effect, then why should I use class? Right? I should not use class. It's waste of time of using class. Right? If I want wherever I use image, I want some effect, then why should I write class? I will just use a type. Only one set of effect need to be applied. Then we can use ID. You can use combinations. Now I will tell you that combination, like, right? Now the first thing is, depending on the requirements, we can use all of them in one page. In a page, some are defined with ID, some are defined with class, some are defined with type. Suppose if I want all entire page font same, then what you will do? Entire page font same means you are writing body. For body, we will say font family as Arial. Will you write a class and apply to this? Huh? Time waste, not required. We just apply the effect. Everywhere it will use it. Right? That means if you want that to handle at every occurrence, then you write the type. Only one set of effects are required, then you give ID. Multiple are required, then class. That depends on the situation. You have to change the requirements, right? This is one simple example of how do we use class. Class syntax also same. Syntax, we have to define dot, some headings, and we have to apply that. So class is equal to headings. That is one. You can apply multiple classes. That example I will give here. This is example. Huh? In that example, I am giving multiple classes. How we can configure the multiple classes and use them, right? That is the three types of selectors: the ID selector, the class selector, and the type selector. So these are called primary selectors. We call these as primary selectors. So here, now the question here is, these are basic CSS rules actually. Here the question is, so if any element is defined with ID and class. So type ID and class. So then which set of effects will apply? So if any element is defined with type, ID, class, then which set of effects will apply? Here two situations are there. You have to know that. See, in the answer, you should know that the priority order is first priority is given for ID. First priority for ID. Second priority is class. And third priority is type. That means first priority is ID, second class, third type. That is the priority order. So here another important is, see, I told you that 2 points are there. Priority order is this. But what happens is, if same set of attributes are defined, then priority is used. Priority is used. If different set of attributes are defined, then all will apply. All three will work. I will show you this point here now. That means it depends on priority, but the priority will come to picture if same attribute is there. If different attributes are there, all will work. ID will work, type will work, and class. For one element, you can apply all three. All three. See here now. What does this means? See here. Suppose I am writing here, remove all these things now. We just have these headings and let's clean up this. Yeah. And you can apply here. I will remove this. Okay. So what we are doing is, we have a heading. I will put heading 1. Color is equal to red. And hash heading, hash head. Suppose I given color is equal to green. Okay. And dot heading, color is equal to blue. Understood? Now I will remove all these and keep only one heading. And here I am using ID. ID is what? Head. I am using class. Anywhere you can write. Class is what? Heading. Heading is the class. Type is already there, red. Now can you tell which color will apply? We have ID selector, we have class selector, we have type selector. All are applying same effect. Then according to priority, which one will apply? ID. ID means which color should apply? Green. Then you can see that applies. The first priority is given for IDs. Second priority, suppose I am not giving ID. So I am not giving ID, right? Then it will, which color? It will be blue color because it is class, right? And alternatively, if you remove class, automatically it will be type. Now, one more option is here. See, same effect are there, but in type selector, I am giving border as 2 pixel solid and red color. In ID selector, I am giving background yellow. And in class selector, I am giving some padding as 30 pixel. Like this I am giving. Now ID have border, type have border, ID have background, class have padding. All three are different. Then all three will work. But what will be the color? The color will be green. Because it is same, then priority wise, which one will apply? ID. But if you apply different effects, all effects will apply. That means you can see now it is going to use all of them. Border is working, background is working, padding is also working. That means priority will be taken into consideration only when same effects are present. If different effects are present, all will apply. All will apply. That is actually the priority, right? So we can apply all three. If anybody asks, like, for one element, can I use ID and class? You can. Through ID, you can apply some effects. Through class, you apply some other effects. By using type also, you can apply some effects. All three can work. That is the concept actually. This is example. I will give this example here to understand that this is the example how you configure. That means when you are defining the styles, so we need to configure the styles in this way. This is technically when you are applying effects, the first thing, primary selectors. So selectors are not mandatory for CSS. Selectors are used only when you are writing embedded or external style sheet. And the basic selectors, primary selectors are three. So these are the three primary selectors: the type, ID, and class. I hope you are clear in the difference now. Type selector, where to use? To apply every occurrence. To apply every occurrence, you have to use type. So where to use ID? When one set of effects are required. Multiple sets of effects, class we have to use. There is nothing like which one is best, depending on requirement. And what is the priority? First priority is ID. Second one, class. Third one, type selector, right? Another important, you should know that when you are using selectors, you can group selectors. You can group selectors or elements. You can group selectors or elements. That is another important. We can group the selectors or elements. That's important. Group is nothing but, so by using comma, you can group. Actually, suppose I want background color for both headings and paragraphs. Then you don't need to write two times, right? That means what you can do is you can simply put heading comma paragraph. You can write effects. This is group. That means it will apply the same effect but for both heading as well as paragraph. We have done that actually sometimes. Suppose header and footer same effects we want. If header and footer same effect you want, you don't need to write two times. You can group and define. So for example, suppose here you are defining group of effects, right? Suppose here we have header. Header is there some online shopping. Okay. And we have section have some effect, some main content. This is some main. Okay. And we have a footer. Footer is having like ampersand copyright symbol. Like this we have. Now important is when you are defining style, I given section have a height as some 400 pixel. Then you can see the section height is there. For header and footer same effects I want, then generally what we do, we write header comma footer. For header footer, I will put some background color red. I will put some color as white. I can put text align as center. I can put some padding as 5 pixel. It will get the same for both header footer. that is group, right? That means wherever you want multiple elements to use the same, then you can use group. Now the question is like, can I group only types? You can group selectors. That means you can group type and ID. You can group type and class. You can group ID and class, anything. You can group all three. So that means wherever ID is used, wherever class is used, wherever some type is used, I want that effect. You can group them. For example, you see here, suppose there is some heading in section, I will put a heading. So this is some web technology. Okay, and there is a paragraph. So here the paragraph is having a class called some effect. Now what I'm doing here, I'm writing like this, heading 2, comma, dot effect. Heading 2 effect. So here paragraph, here I will give some paragraph. Okay. Now for this, what I will do is text align. Text align I given as center, suppose. That means heading 2 and that paragraph both have center. I am not using P here. I am using its class name. Because later, suppose there is a div which is using the class effect. There also some div. Here also center will apply. Because if I use paragraph, only paragraph will work. I want some class name and this combination we can define. So that means you can use a combination of effects. So for example, you can add ID also. That means you can put a comma and you can define ID. You can put an ID hash. Suppose head, suppose like this. That means wherever that head is used, suppose there is heading 1. So heading 1, some welcome, roughly I written, that is normal. For that also, we put an ID as what? Head. It will use same. So we can group the selectors. What is advantage is we can apply same effect for all of them. Sometimes sometimes header, paragraph, footer, we want same spacing, same alignments, same font styles. In that case, we have to group them. So, and every paragraph I don't want. That is the reason I will not write P. Only for the paragraph where effect is given, it should work. For other paragraphs, it should not. So that is the reason we don't use always type. We define accordingly. This is basic. One example for that actually. How you can group the selectors. That is example. Now this is the primary selectors of CSS. Now you have so many others. Descendant attributes, so many selectors are there. That we will see tomorrow. Right? At least for 3 days, these selectors will go on. So many selectors are there. We have to finish all the selectors. That is the main concept in CSS. Right? Lot of there. It will take 2-3 sessions to finish selectors. Okay. Then tomorrow session will continue about selectors. Right.